Hey everybody, welcome back for another video. Today I'm going to go over all of the books I plan to read for March. So I'm going to tell you guys first and foremost, I am 100% winging it when it comes to my March TBR. As per usual, I have a couple of things that are set in stone, things I've scheduled, things I'm buddy reading or reading along, but that doesn't take up my whole month. And I have a whole pile of wildcard books over here, and I don't even know what's going on. I'm kind of making this up as I go, so you're here for the ride. Let me show you what I got. As usual, it's going to be starting out the month with Pierce Brown. This is book 3 of the Red Rising saga, and it's Morningstar. This is a reread for me, and in my recollection, Morningstar was my favorite of the 3 that I've read. So I'm really excited to revisit this and see if it's still as awesome as I remember it being. But more than anything, I'm kind of excited to get this one reread, get the information and the story and the plot and the characters all fresh in my head so I can continue on to Iron Gold and Dark Age because I've never read them before. So I'm really excited to keep going with Red Rising, and I've really been enjoying the reread and refreshing myself on the first 3, but I'm mostly excited to get to all the new stuff that I have never read and will be brand new to me. In March, I plan to continue with my Harry Potter reread, and March will leave me with The Prisoner of Azkaban. And so far, I've been doing these 1 per month. But from here on out, I think I will slip in 2 a month. It's kind of depending on what I've got going on in my schedule and how my library hold up. So up through Prisoner of Azkaban, I actually own the audiobooks on Audible. But from here on out, I'm going to be reserving them with my library. And so after I finish this one, I'll go ahead and put the library hold on the Goblet of Fire, and I'll probably just read them as my library holds permit. So if it's a 2-week library hold, then I'll just read it in March. If it's like an 18-week library hold, then I'm just going to kind of keep up with Harry Potter as my audiobook library holds permit, because this is my first time doing the whole series on audio. I'm loving the Jim Dale narration. So I think that'll be my plan from here on out, is just to kind of go at the pace of my library holds. But regardless, I'm having a great time, and I'm really excited to get to Prisoner of Azkaban because that one is ready for me to read as soon as I'm ready for it. And the last of my rereads for March will be Assassin's Quest, which is book 3 of the Farseer trilogy, which is the first series in the realm of the Elderlings. So like I've said since the beginning of the year, that I have committed to rereading Farseer. So this book right here will put me at the end of my commitments as far as rereading Realm of the Elderlings goes. As of now, I am planning to continue with 1 book a month forever for the rest of my life until I get tired of them, because I'm just really enjoying kind of keeping my toe dipped in that world. But it does always feel nice to complete something, and that is something I love about the Realm of the Elderlings series as a whole. I mean, it is 16 books, but because it's broken up into several trilogies and all these sub-series, it makes it feel like you really get to check things off the list and feel accomplished as you're going. So I'm definitely reading this in March. I'm looking forward to it because even though this one is very divided amongst the fandom, it was my favorite of the 3 the first time I reread them. So I'm really excited to get to it this time around. So we'll see if I keep going with a full-on 1 a month Realm of the Elderlings reread. But either way, I'm finishing up Farseer this month, and I'm pretty excited about that. So these Nicholas Flamel books by Michael Scott, the series again is called The Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel. The author is Michael Scott. These are not a scheduled 1 a month read for me, but I've been enjoying them so much that it's just kind of worked out that way. So I definitely am going to prioritize getting this one, book 3, The Sorceress, get that one read in March. And then my niece is really excited because I went ahead and ordered book 4 for myself because I'm all caught up on the books that Caitlin got me. And I'm enjoying it so much that I'm definitely going to read the whole series. So my niece has only read up through book 3. And so she's pretty excited that I'm excited also, because that means that I'm obviously going to let her borrow my book. So as I get caught up on the series, she is going to get caught up as well. So that is really fun. I'm really glad I'm reading these because not only am I legitimately enjoying them, like they're super good, but it's been something kind of fun for me and my niece to kind of bond over, you know? Back in late 2021, I read The Ember Blade by Chris Wooding, and I loved it. Like, I thought it was such a good fantasy novel. It was special because to me it had like all the tropes that I love, but done really, really well. And sometimes those tropes were there and they were cleverly subverted. Like you thought something was being set up, and then you're like, okay, like that's not what I thought it was going to be. And then occasionally think a trope was being set up, and then indeed it was being set up exactly like you thought, but it was done really, really well. And that's always the thing with me and classic fantasy tropes, is that I am a fan, I do like them, but they need to be cool still. You know, they need to feel like it fits in the story and they're executed really well. And I thought the Ember Blade just nailed that. Like all the familiar things were there that I love about a fantasy book, but they were all executed in a super slick way. So I remember being very impressed with it and just like really enjoying my time with that book. So I'm really excited to get to the Shadow Casket, which is the much anticipated book 2 of that series. I have it on Kindle and I have it on audiobook, so I'm ready to get to that. And I don't have a plan for when I'm going to start it in March, but probably pretty soon in the month because I am very excited about it. So this next group of books is what I'm kind of feeling a little more willy-nilly about. They all sound really good right now, and feasibly, like I think I can get to all of this. I kind of divided up how many hours a day I'm able to audio and how many hours a day I'm able to read with my eyes, and I think we're looking at a pretty reasonable stack because a lot of these books I'm about to show you are really short. But I am all about the mood reading lately, so everything that I've committed to sounds really good. I'm still really invested and committed to it and like engaged. But these are things that I'm about to show you. These are definitely things that right now I'm like, oh yeah, I'm excited to get to these. But I don't know how I'm going to feel in a couple weeks, so we will see. But right now I want to show you a couple of books that are, you know, on my standalone goal list or things that have just been sent to me in the mail and I'm really excited about. Either way, I don't know. I can't make any promises about these, but I am currently definitely eyeballing them. So the first one is Peter Pan by J.M. Barr. This is a classic. This is something I've read before, but my daughter wants to read it with me, and so I said absolutely. Now this is a book that I can read in probably 2 settings, so I don't feel at all like bogged down by adding this to the stack because it's a book I know I love. It's a book that is just beautiful and timeless, and when my daughter wants to read anything with me, I always say yes. So Peter Pan, like you're happening in March. This is All Quiet on the Western Front, and this was recommended to me by my brother Ben, and it's on my 17 standalones goals list. So I'm excited to get to this one to check another book off of the list, but also because my brother speaks so highly of it, and I know it is regarded as one of the greatest war novels of all time. Plus, I mean, it is intriguing to me to get through some novels that are short, but like really impactful and have a great reputation. So I am excited to get to this one as well. My library hold for The Secret History is about to come up, and this book is going to be available for me on audio, which leaves me in the perfect position to do some immersive reading with The Secret History. This book was given to me by a viewer, and when I get a gift from a viewer in the mail, I don't necessarily feel obligated to read it immediately, but it does kind of prioritize it for me because I don't put anything on my wish list that I'm not very interested in, and so I want to read the book anyway. And then if I know that one of you guys went out of your way to like do something incredibly generous for me, it's such a kind gesture that I do want to prioritize. So this was sent to me by a viewer and it's been on my radar. I've heard it's really, really good, and so I plan to read this one as well in March. The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman is another one that I've really, really wanted to get to for a long time. So I've read enough Neil Gaiman at this point that I think what I enjoy most about him are his children's books and his things that are really whimsical. And this one is a little bit of both from what I understand about the reputation. It's about a human boy who is alive who was raised by ghosts in a graveyard. And I've heard really good things about this, and it sounds like something that would be exactly up my alley because it is middle grade, it's written for children, but it's also very dark and has some, you know, kind of twisted Neil Gaiman tones in there. So I'm very excited to get to this one because I'm just definitely in the mood for it. And the last one in this stack, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that I've never read this book, but it is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. So I have seen this movie and I have seen the play, so I'm very familiar with the story, but I have never read the book. And it's my husband's favorite book, and he was just like, "What do you mean you have never read To Kill a Mockingbird. And so he was just absolutely outraged. And so I was like, fine, like, oh my gosh, I will read it in March. So I am excited to read it because I know it's a good story. Like, it's an absolutely classic story. So I'm really excited to get to it. And I'm sure that the book will live up to all the hype because it is a beautiful story. So finally, I'm going to read To Kill a Mockingbird. So as I'm sitting here looking at this stack of books, it honestly makes me really excited to look forward to everything great that I'm going to be reading in March. I love the way my schedule's working out so far. I'm feeling super cozy and comfy with these rereads that I'm visiting, and I like this flexibility that I'm keeping with my standalone list and just recommendations from friends and just hopping onto hype trains and stuff like that. I really like the amount of flexibility that I've left myself. For those of you that are curious, you guys know that I'm mostly audiobook, but I like to read a little bit with eyes every day just to keep myself in the habit, and that's the point of a book, right? But I did do some math, and if I do all of this on audio, it would be about 3.5 hours of audiobook time a day. And a lot of people are just like, how do you read so much? And I think that kind of puts it into perspective, because the average person who reads a lot still probably does not sit down and read for 3 or 4 hours a day. Like, that would be so much. And if you read with your eyeballs for 3 or 4 hours a day, then you could probably read this many books as well. But that's just not feasible for a normal human adult. But audiobooking does allow me that time to kind of stay plugged in when I can multitask and do other things. So by my calculations, anywhere from 3 to 4 hours a day will get all of these books either read or audiobooked. So that was just kind of interesting me to break it down like that. So how many hours a day do you think you read or audiobook? I'm just curious because that's a lot of time to dedicate to a hobby, but it is nice that with the way I consume books, I am able to multitask a lot. So I thought that was an interesting tidbit that you guys might be curious about. So show me, please, let me know below, what are you going to be reading in March? Are we going to have any crossover? And is there anything that you're reading that you think I should be reading too? Am I forgetting something amazing in March? So let me know below, and thank you as always for watching.